To eNCA's Aaron Bates, who is at the state capture inquiry this morning. So, Aaron, good morning to you. Gavin Watson subpoenaed to appear before this confidential SARS inquiry. Firstly, tell us why this inquiry is secretive and, importantly, what is it that Gavin Watson is expected to answer to?
Yes, morning, Xoli. If you look at the Tax Administration Act of 2011, which has been subject to some amendments, in Part C of Section 5 or Chapter 5, it details the stipulations and legislation around inquiries that SARS may initiate. Now, we hear from Kisveta in the bite or the clip you've just played that this sort of monitoring of the state capture inquiry evidence and that of the PIC is being centralized in the Commissioner's office, the highest office within SARS, one must note. And what we understand is that any inquiries remain confidential until the outcome is determined. If you look at Chapter 6 of the same Act, it says that the rights of taxpayers are reserved in terms of privacy, in terms of confidentiality. Once a person has been convicted, however, or found wanting in terms of their tax return, say, that information can then be disclosed to the public. So by law, any investigations into taxpayers, whether they're individuals, companies, or groups of people, as referred to there again in Kisveta's comments to eNCA last night, that all remains confidential, not only in terms of the Tax Administration Act of 2011, but also, of course, in terms of the rights that we enjoy under the Constitution.
Let's come back, therefore, Aaron Bates, to the matters that are before the state capture inquiry. Yesterday, the Commission hearing some criticism of the former Public Enterprises Minister Malusi Gigaba at issue. What was it?
Well, this was all around his management and engagements with SAA. We heard from a former SAA CEO that she was blindsided, really, by being called or dispatched to attend two meetings with Minister Gigaba in 2011. The first was in January in Pretoria at his office, during which she says the minister gave the president of an SAA competitor, Jet Airways, direct access to the CEO of SAA to discuss SAA dropping its Mumbai-Johannesburg route. There was another meeting, she says, some months later in April of 2011. This time she and a colleague went down to Cape Town. This is Cesar Mzimela, the witness from yesterday, former SAA CEO, now SA Express interim CEO. She says she and a colleague were travelled down to Cape Town in a hurry, Xoli. They went into the minister's office. There she says that the minister's advisor at the time, Mr. Mahlangu, gave her a dressing down to the point where she thought it was far too personal and disrespectful. She and her colleague both commented on that, and then the chair and the evidence leader asked, well, what did the minister say? What did Minister Gigaba say? This conversation, again, unexpectedly, about the Jet Airways or SAA Jet Airways partnership and dropping the Mumbai-Johannesburg route. What Mzimela said is that Gigaba told her and her colleague from the SAA board that he wanted to see if SAA and Jet Airways could find each other. She said those were his words, and at that point she got quite incredulous. She sort of scoffed and laughed and said, and then again, the minister called in Jet Airways executives, including the same president of Jet Airways once again. And to her, this kind of urgency over dropping the Mumbai-Johannesburg route, an issue that was on the table by the time she arrived as the head or the CEO of SAA in about April of 2010, didn't make sense. The urgency didn't make sense. The focus on the Mumbai route when there were other unprofitable routes also didn't make sense. And the claim from Gigaba's advisor that this issue was, quote, of national importance.
Interesting. It'll be interesting to hear from what the former minister will have to say as and when he is asked to appear before that inquiry. And, of course, his advisor, Siyabonga Mahlangu. Talk to us about today, Aaron. Two witnesses coming before the inquiry, one from BNP Capital and the other from SAA. What's at stake?
Yes, Xoli, just to respond to your comments there, of course, the Gigaba and neither Gigaba or Mahlangu have at this point applied to cross-examine, which is quite stunning, not least because we hear that Mzimela's evidence lines up with that of Faki Mentor, former Public Enterprises Minister, and Gigaba's predecessor, Barbara Hogan, and also that of Cheryl Carolus, former SAA board chair as well. But on to today, as you've asked, we have two witnesses. The first, of course, is the director of BNP BNP Capital. That's a company that's alleged to have been unduly favoured by Dudu Myeni of SAA, or formerly of SAA. And then we're set to hear from a former HR manager of the national carrier as well. So both those witnesses, their names are Daniel Maklangu of BNP Capital, and then we're set to hear from Matulwane Mche, former HR manager at SAA.
Live in Parktown from the state capture inquiry. Erin Bates, thank you very much for that update. She'll be keeping an eye on that particular inquiry. On to this now. Former NPA bosses Nomgcobo Jiba and Lawrence Mkhwebi will learn their fate today. The Constitution